Hey, welcome back. My name is Jay Ozen. I teach, mentor, and coach people on public speaking so that they can give winning high stakes speeches, whether it's for a job interview, a business meeting, or even at a conference. Today, I'm going to give you an executive tip. One of the main jobs that you have as an executive is to hire smart. Hiring has to be your core competency. If there's one thing that will prevent you from succeeding as an executive is if you do not hire well. One of the things that nobody talks about is Marissa Mayer at Yahoo, I believe, did not succeed. She did not hire good people. In fact, one of the person that she hired from Google, she ended up terminating that person after a year, and Yahoo had to give out over $100 million. Think about that. 1 year, the company had to pay 100 million, something like $110 million. You can look it up on the web. I think the person was a chief operating officer that she recruited from Google, and he was so bad that she ended up getting rid of him, but they had to pay out over $100 million. That's not a good hire. That you just cannot recover from that. And as a result, she's no longer that Yahoo no longer exists. They are now part of Verizon, and is no longer the CEO. But anyway, this happens across all levels. That's just one glaring example. On the other hand, a person who really hires well is Jeff Bezos. Amazon hires well. All these companies like Amazon, Google, Facebook, they do a good job in hiring. So a hiring has to be a part of your culture of hiring well. But as an executive, you're going to have to hire people that are going to report to you. And also, people underneath you are going to hire people that are going to report to them. And you always look at these tips such as, here's the one question you have to ask. And according to Mark Zuckerberg, the question that he asks himself is that could I work for the person that I'm hiring? That's his main thing. And he said, if the answer is yes, I'll hire that person. Some executives said, well, if I can go out and have a lunch with that guy, person that I'm hiring, then I'm hiring that person because I'm going to be with that person. So you got, there's other things like curiosity and you name it. There are all kinds of things that executives will give you. And you can find this in New York Times, Washington Post, Fortune, you name it. That's all out there. But I think there's one fundamental question that I believe is very important to ask. And this is not something, weird like, can I have lunch with that guy? Who knows? Sometimes I think that's important, but if the guy is good, who cares? If the guy gets the work done, do I really care whether I have lunch with that person or not? Okay. I think the one question that you do have to ask has to do with change. Change is very difficult, as you know. Most people cannot make a change. It has nothing to do with how old you or young you are. You could be very young and not be able to change, or you could be quite old and be able to change. Do you have that change mindset? And that's what you have to look for. So the question, before you ask this question, you got to ask yourself, are you the kind of person that can make the change, right? Where you have made the change and it worked. In other cases where you couldn't make the change and it didn't work. Okay, so you've got to ask that to yourself first before you ask any candidate that you're interviewing. But here's the question you've got to ask about change. Mr. Candidate or Miss Candidate, give me an example where you had to make a change and it worked. And how long did it take? What was the change? And how did you go about making the change? And how did it affect the organization when you had to make the change? Change is a big question. which I don't think anybody ever asks in an interview. Look, let's say I joined your company. I'm from Harvard. Obviously, I got the academic credits. I could have done some wonderful things at some place I work. But if I can't make a change the way you want it, then I'm no use to you. If you're hiring me, I got to make the change for you. If you don't find that out before you hire, it's too late, right? So one change is change where you can show I came in, I realized I had to make a change, and I did it, and here's how I did it, and here's how long it took, and here's the result. You need that. Very important question. But don't stop there. People will always talk about the change where things work out, but most changes don't work out. You've got to ask that. Give me an example where you had to make a change and you couldn't. It took too long, it didn't work out. And if that person cannot give you both answers, I would not hire that person. Because change is not automatic, that people can just make a change. Sometimes you don't want to make a change and you end up quitting. That's a good answer. I couldn't deal with that change, I left. Here, that change made sense, I did it. So weigh the two answers, the change that the person made, the change the person couldn't make or didn't want to make, and then decide whether you want to hire that person. Because no matter who you hire, that person's going to have to make a change. Change is constant, right? We keep hearing that all the time. And today, change is happening much faster. So if you can't change fast, whoever you hire is essentially a dead hire. That person is already going to turn out to be a terrible employee. Okay, so think about this. Change is a very important thing you have to ask in an interview. And I've been to so many interviews. I'm in my 50s now. I don't think that question has ever been asked. Change. And we always talk about, hey, you got to be able to handle change. Don't you think that's the most important question to ask in a job interview? Let me know what you think. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or ideas, send it to me. And as always, thank you for watching and good luck.